Looks like most of us are here, so we're gonna go ahead. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be joining us from. My name is Karina Ivanyan. I'm an intake advisor here at the International Students and Programs Office, also known as ISPO at UC San Diego. And if you joined us before, you may know that ISPO is one of the 4 units in the Global Initiatives Department. And today we are excited to share with you a presentation that's going to focus on campus safety. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to my colleagues to introduce themselves as well.
Thank you, Karina. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Gabi Hoffman. I'm the Assistant Director for Student Experience and Engagement at the International Students and Programs Office. I'll go ahead and pass it along to my colleagues at UC San Diego PD.
Hello, how you doing? My name is Anthony Aguilar. I am a police officer on the campus, and my compatriot, Sergeant Sheldon King.
Hello, my name is Sergeant Sheldon King. I've been at the police department for 17 years, and I'm glad you're on here to hear what we have to say.
Okay, hi. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. My name is John Carlos Sr. I'm an attorney, and I'm the director at Student Legal Services. Good to see you all.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Valencia. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the Training and Education Specialist at CARE at the Sexual Assault Resource Center.
And hi, everybody. My name is Pachia Vu, and I'm an Assistant Director with Student Financial Solutions.
Thank you, everybody. Before we begin, we just want to share a few housekeeping things. As a reminder, if you joined us in the past, you may know that you are in listen-only mode, which means you can hear us, but we can't hear you. And this is where that Q&A feature on your screens is super important, because we want to make sure we get all of your questions answered. So throughout the presentation, please don't hesitate to submit your questions there. But in an instance where we didn't get a chance to cover your question and you'd like to connect with an ISPO advisor, please visit us on icontact.ucsd.edu to connect with one of us. And then lastly, we are recording, so you'll be able to view this webinar recording at inewstudentwebinars.ucsd.edu. And we just ask that you give us a few days to process the video and upload it to our website. Again, this is just that reminder of that Q&A feature. This is how it's going to look on your screen. You are able to type in the questions. You can also send them in anonymously. Our presenters will answer them as they come in, but we'll also do a live Q&A session at the end. For our agenda today, we're going to do a quick reminders from ISPO, and then we're going to have a presentation from UC San Diego Police Department, Student Legal Services, CARE at SARC, Student Financial Solutions, and then we'll conclude with a Q&A session. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Gabi.
Thanks, Karina. So as Karina mentioned, we're going to just spend a few minutes to go over our ISPO website and our first steps checklist. So for those of you who may not be familiar yet with our first steps checklist, you can access this at inewstudent.ucsd.edu. This list is specifically curated for our international student population, whether you are an undergraduate student or a graduate student or exchange student. There are specific steps outlined for you that pertain to you as an international student, starting, of course, with requesting your visa documents, moving through and helping you prepare for arrival, and then what steps you need to complete upon arrival. So we definitely encourage you, if you haven't done so yet, please visit this website, go through the different steps to make sure you're completing all the different pieces before you arrive and start your journey at UC San Diego. And with that, I'll go ahead and pass it along to my colleagues at UC San Diego Police Department.
Hello, everyone. I apologize for not having the camera on. I have a 1-year-old that's not cooperating, but thank you for being here. I have Corporal Anthony Aguilar. He's on the presentation with me. He is an advocate for international students. He's very passionate and helping out the international students when they come into town. And I thought, what better person to have on here than Anthony himself. So throughout this presentation, you will hear scam, 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 scam. That's our number one problem with our international, not number one problem, but it is a huge problem with our international student community on campus. Next slide, please. So again, welcome to UC San Diego. We're just going to share this information to you that we feel is important through PowerPoint. Once you get into the states, United States, it'll be a whole different presentation, or we will add a few things to this presentation. Next slide, please.
Okay, so very quickly to cover what happens in the United States and the differences between laws and policy. First, at the overarching level, we have what is known are federal laws, which are national laws for the entire United States. Then it drops down to this state level in which we have our own laws, the state of California. And then it drops even smaller to the community level, where it is at the county or even the city, which are covered under municipal codes. And then even here at the university, we have known things such as campus policies and procedures, as well as student conduct codes, and the overarching theme of community, principles of community. Next slide, please. One of the biggest problems that we do have on our campus is that we have our international students either defrauded or extorted. As you can see on the screen, just in 2020 alone, there was one student who was taken for over $300,000. And over on the right side of the screen, you can see the exchange rate at that time, how much it was worth in various countries. Next slide, please. Common scams that you'll find out there, people trying to sell you things via OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace, things like that. You will run into offers from foreign countries, not to point one country out, but predominantly out of Nigeria. You'll have kings, queens, princesses, princes offering you money, land, and other items in exchange for cash up front. Credit card fraud. We see huge amounts of credit card fraud and threats of arrest and intimidation coming towards our students, where they say they are from the visa office, they are border patrol. You will hear predominantly Chinese consulate or embassy officials threatening to take you back to China if you're from China. Threats of withholding your diploma because they will attempt to impersonate a university official. They will make threats on your visa, and other scams that are out there are offers of payment. They will offer to pay your tuition, your housing at a much discounted rate. And one of the biggest things and how it's perpetrated is via the internet through use of technology. So if you see unfamiliar emails or text messages with links, please don't click on them. If you see if it's from an office here on the campus or claiming to be on the campus, feel free to reach out to that office through the university web pages that are out there. Do not click on those links. Next slide, please.
Yeah, one thing before we continue, one issue that's been happening, the scammers will call using an app that will show a police department phone number, and it will show up San Diego Police Department, and they will pretend to be detectives or police officers themselves and start threatening you to obtain money. So if that happens, you can come to the UC San Diego Police Department and you can ask questions there, but do not send any money, especially if it's going to be if they ask you to put on a debit card or a gift card or an Apple card. So just keep that in mind. So on this slide, the scammers will use the IRS and Social Security to try to obtain money. The IRS and Social Security, they will not call you on your cell phone or on your phones. They will not call you. So that should be the first sign. They do not accept gift cards, like I mentioned earlier. So that is another sign. And again, they will never ask you for money over the phone. Appreciate that. Next slide, please.
Criminals that are out there, they will try to extort you for money. They will definitely ask you for prepaid cards, whether it's GameStop, Apple Pay, whatever it may be. They will ask for those and the codes on them. Do not share that. Next, don't share your personal information. Even though that they are claiming to be part of the government, what they're trying to do is obtain your personal information so they can open up credit cards in your name. And part of being on the campus is that we all want to try to meet new people, make new friends, maybe find a significant other, and you'll get into some conversations. Most importantly, do not send nude photos of yourself over the internet. The police department will not be able to get those photos back. Once they are out on the internet, they are on the internet forever. Do not meet with anyone that you do not know personally. You may feel the need to meet a person, but do it in a group setting. Get to know that person in person with other people around you. Do not go alone. Okay? Do not send any money to anyone you have never met before or you do not know personally. Next slide, please. And the biggest thing on the internet, especially with GP chat becoming a big thing out there now, you're going to see a lot more of what is known as catfishing. So if you look at these photos, you may believe you're talking to someone that you believe is this person, but in actuality,
Next slide.
Sheldon, who are they talking to?
They're talking to me pretty much. Homer Simpson. You know, you're just talking to a random person and they're just trying to get your money, and that is it. Next slide, please.
Okay, clues that someone has stolen your identity. You will see unexpected withdrawals from your bank accounts. You might stop getting bills or other pieces of mail that will come to your mailbox. You might be out trying to purchase clothing or other items, and when you're at the department store or other merchants, your credit card or checks will be declined. Debt collectors may start calling you and requesting payment for debts that you are not aware of or that are truly not yours. You find unfamiliar accounts or credit cards on your credit report or just mail that arrives congratulating you on your new accounts and opening new lines of credit. And lastly, the IRS will notify you that one or more tax returns were filed in your name. Next slide, please. Ways to protect yourself. In the case of people pretending to be government officials, especially if they're from your country, please contact your consulate or embassy to see if this is true. Monitor your financial statements. This is always the telltale sign of your identity being stolen, especially if there are new lines of credit that you did not apply for. Check your credit reports regularly. If your card is compromised, place a fraud alert on your credit reports, or even better, freeze your credit file. Another way to resolve this issue is open a bank account and get credit cards through an American financial institution. Taking care of your personal information is making sure that the envelopes with your names on it get shredded. Anything that identifies you personally, whether it's your name, address, your student PID number, all of these things can be manipulated to opening lines of credit in your name. Strengthen your passwords online. It might be a pain to type 14-digit or a alphanumeric password that is long in length, but it is better than compromising all of your financial information. Guard your social security numbers, your passport numbers, and your visas. These are all items that can be manipulated to create false documents, and you might be responsible for it. Use social media wisely. Okay. There are a lot of scams out there, and there's a lot of ways that these criminals manipulate social media. Secure your phone. Make sure that you have your phone on you at all times. In many of your countries, it's very, very common and very safe to leave your items just for 10 minutes, to walk over, grab a book in the library, or go use the restroom, get something to eat and come back, and all your items will be safe. They'll still be there. America is very, very different, and we do have criminals that use our libraries, and they are watching you. So please always take all your items with you. So know the signs of phishing and email scams. This can come through various forms of contact, whether it's text messages, emails, and they're asking, hey, do you know me? Or perhaps it looks like a legitimate website, but always double check the email, where it's coming from. It might say Citibank, and the bank, instead of an A, will be an O, and it has a text link. Do not open those. Keeping your mail safe. Constantly be checking your mailbox, the physical one, and picking up your mail when they say it arrives. Next slide, please.
Yeah, so if you're a victim of a crime, if someone gets into your account, just lock down that account immediately. Constantly review your credit reports. Enroll in credit monitoring service if you can afford to. A lot of the scams will have to go to the Federal Trade Commission, but initially come to the police department. We'll be more than welcome to guide you in whatever direction you have to go, and file a police report with the local police department if there is a scam that, or if you have been scammed, or in any criminal aspect. And then again, review your bank credit card statements for unauthorized charges. Next slide, please. That's the end of our portion. If you have a chance to screenshot, please go ahead and screenshot the information there. That's to the UC San Diego Police Department. That is our phone number. If you have any questions that you need to ask and don't want to come into the police department, or you don't want to call the police department, then there is an email for Ask a Cop. You can ask any question you want, and if it's within reason, we will go ahead and answer it and get back to you. University safety officials, they guard the dorms. So there are security guards who are in charge of our dorm area, and they provide escorts from campus to campus, or from different areas on campus to wherever you need to go, but it has to be within campus. And then we also have our community service officers that have random jobs, but it's similar to that of the university safety official, as in providing escorts. And that is it for our part. Anthony, you have anything else?
No. All I can say in more or less, for those that are Japanese, yokoso and yoroshiku onegaishimasu.
All right, thank you all. And one thing I forgot, on the right-hand side is if it happens off campus, San Diego Police Department will be the agency you would have to respond to. And that number is on the right-hand side of the screen. All right, on to John Carlos.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Sergeant. Thank you to the UCPD for being here and talking about this really important thing. And we're just going to keep talking about it. And this conversation is meant to be about campus safety. And hopefully, as you've identified, one of the biggest issues that we see is about frauds and scams. You are going to get a phone call, perhaps very likely in your native language, saying, We're with the police department in your home country. We're with Border Patrol or with a local police department. And you can't tell anybody about this call, and you need to send us money. And sometimes it takes a while before they ask you for the money. So they want to try to build up confidence in you. Again, this is about campus safety. And sure, there are plenty of safety precautions that you can take. Yes, there is crime on campus and around campus, but relatively speaking, it's pretty minimal. And really one of the biggest risks that our students see is with scams and frauds. So again, I'm John Carlos Sr. I'm the director at Student Legal Services. My office provides free, confidential counseling, education, and referrals to all currently registered students and student organizations on all types of legal matters and policy matters. So all that is to say, you have a free lawyer to come talk to about any and all legal questions, issues, or problems. Some of our biggest issues include off-campus housing, folks who want us to look at their leases or who want to make sure they get their security deposits back at the end of their leases, students who might have questions about health insurance policies, students who get citations, parking citations included. If you drive to campus eventually and you park on campus, eventually everybody seems to end up getting a parking citation. I know that I did. Questions about insurance policies. So really anything and everything, you can come talk to us. It's totally free and it's totally confidential. So a few of the considerations, a few things that I'm going to be talking about today are, again, scams and people trying to get money from you, insurance issues, and also off-campus housing. Next slide, please. So again, you're going to get these phone calls. You're going to get these emails. I get these phone calls almost every day. Fortunately, my phone tells me that it knows it's a scam. Sometimes it'll be a pre-recorded message, typically not in English, sometimes in English, sometimes in other languages, saying that you need to contact them and don't tell anyone and you need to send them money. A lot of scams involve that I've seen even through unfortunately through some of our campus partners websites. So whether that's off-campus housing, whether it's the folks at Career Services through Handshake, you might get contacted by somebody claiming to be a landlord or somebody claiming to be a potential employer, and will ask you to deposit a fake check that they're going to send you. But before that check arrives, they want you to send them money using electronic money transfer, which is instantaneous. A lot of times it'll be somebody from Social Security saying they're from Social Security, from the IRS, from Immigration Customs Enforcement, or Homeland Security. The government does not call you. The government will never call you. Okay, it will even if in my experience, if it's somebody in a foreign country claiming to be from the government, governments don't call you. They send you a letter, and if they need if there's a criminal issue, they do not call you. They will absolutely show up at your house if they have to talk to you about a thing. Okay, so if you get a phone call saying you need to send money, or you're in trouble, or we believe that you have committed crimes, 99% of the time it's going to be absolutely fake. Okay, so please keep that in mind. Some renting issues that I will occasionally see involve students who are being asked to send signed contracts or typically sending security deposits. So sending an amount of money to secure an off-campus residence. And this is a very difficult thing. I acknowledge, particularly for international students who can't always come to San Diego to find housing, before school starts. I would say, nevertheless, if you can make local contacts, please do. Please do not send money without making absolutely certain that the place is legitimate, that you're thinking about renting. A few of the things that I've discovered are that, number one, of course, some places are just too good to be true, and it'll say, an ocean view home or apartment for $500 a month. Unfortunately, that does not exist in San Diego. Sometimes you'll see that you'll get contacted by somebody claiming to be a professor, or claiming to be someone who is needs someone to house sit for them temporarily, but has this other person that they want you to talk to, for you to send money, again, as a security deposit, or as a way to make sure that you get the place. Another thing that I'll see is is for apartments and condominiums and townhouses. They will send you an address and say that, and even a fake lease will say a general address, but it won't indicate the apartment number. To me, that's an indication that it's probably going to be fake. So always do a Google search for the property. Do the most research you can on the property once you see the address. And again, I would not send any money until and unless I met the person. I'm also going to go ahead and put in my email address in the chat, so that if you do get a lease before you get here, send it to me so I can at least take a really quick look. And if I see any issues, I will let you know. But please do what you can to verify that the place that you're looking at renting is legitimate, and that the person you're talking to is legitimate. Okay, in terms of jobs, as I said, of course, some international students will have opportunities for practical training, and although for most that's not the case, but if you are an international student who's looking to work under the exceptions that are allowed, again, I will hear about scams through Handshake in UC San Diego. Again, typically that involve receiving money or receiving a fake check that if you try to, in other words, they'll mail it to you, you will take it to the bank, you will find out then that it's fake. But in the meantime, they will, before you do that, they will ask you to send an electronic money transfer. I just heard about a student recently, an international student who lost $100,000 to a scam. That again, it was somebody on the phone. It was don't tell anybody. It was a lot of pressure. It was urgent. You have to do this now, and unfortunately, the student fell for it. Didn't talk to anybody, and sent a lot of money before they found out that it was a total scam. Yes, there's fake merchandise that some folks will try to sell you, including on campus, sometimes in the parking lots. Be really careful of that, and don't trust everything you see on Facebook or Craigslist, which is a free listing service here in town. It's great, but you have to make sure that you're dealing with a real person, or in this case, with real merchandise. Anytime they ask you to send a prepaid card, to send iTunes money, to send Bitcoin or any other type of currency like that, it's going to be a scam just automatically. Okay, so again, do not send any money until and unless you have the keys, unless you have the actual merchandise, that you've seen it and you have it in hand, until you actually have a contract that you can sign. Please don't send money until then. Okay, next slide, please. So these are not scams. It might feel like it sometimes, but a couple things that I want to point out in terms of insurance specifically. We have a very unique insurance system in the United States. When it comes to medical insurance, and I've seen when it comes to dental insurance. So what a doctor might say, or a dentist or a nurse might say about what you are covered for in terms of insurance, you might not be covered for. Okay. And it's not, in my experience, typically a scam, but they will say, oh yeah, you can get Invisalign, you can get cosmetic dental work, or you can get this procedure and it's going to be covered. They're not the ones who make that decision. It's your insurance that does. So I would suggest run everything by your insurance when you are here before you proceed with, say, cosmetic dental work or other types of elective work done to make sure that it's covered. So again, what a doctor's office or nurse or dentist's office might say might not be what's actually covered. If you're going to live off campus or on campus, get good renter's insurance. Get the best renter's insurance that you can. Typically, renter's insurance is going to cover personal property. In other words, your things if they get lost, stolen, or damaged, liability if somebody gets hurt, and also flood insurance if there's a plumbing leak, and some will include loss of use coverage, which I really, really recommend. And that's if there's say a plumbing issue and construction folks have to come in and repair the place for a couple days, and so you have to find another place to live. Temporarily, loss of use coverage covers you for that. So get renter's insurance. A lot of places require it. I say whether or not it's required, get it and get the best you can afford. It's usually no more than $10 to $15 a month at the most. Okay. If you're going to rent a car, if you're going to own a car, if you're going to use a car, get the best automobile insurance that you can afford. And that includes if you get a summer break or a spring break and you want to go visit a national park, get the best automobile insurance you can afford. Liability insurance is not enough. The liability is a type of insurance that's basically, it covers you if something is your fault. If there's an accident and it's determined to be your fault. It's great to have, but that's not enough. You want something more like comprehensive insurance so that if something happens to your car that's not your fault, you can get coverage there. Okay. I put on a few years ago, there's an introduction to California and United States law that's on my website. It can be on the Student Legal Services website. Yes, it can get very confusing. And as my colleagues mentioned, my colleagues in UC at the UC Police Department mentioned, there's United States law, so that applies across the country and in every state. And that's different from California law. And so a classic example is marijuana. Marijuana is legal in the United States. It's not permissible to have on campus, but it is. It's legal in California, but it's so in the state, but it's not legal in the entire country. And so, of course, U.S. citizens and non-citizens can be very confused by this. Please understand that under federal law, and that includes immigration law, it is illegal to possess or to use marijuana. So again, it's okay in California, but it's not okay in the entire country. And so obviously that can lead to complications. And anything involving controlled substances or drugs, it's looked at very harshly, very seriously, particularly under federal law. Next slide, please. Okay, in terms of off campus, you want to be really careful in terms of the folks that you're going to live with. Usually everybody has to sign the same lease. And so please keep in mind that everybody who signed the lease is liable for up to 100% of the obligations under the lease. So tenants, roommates, as we lawyers say, they're jointly and severally liable. So that means every single person can be held responsible. So if you've got rent due for June 1st, you pay your share of the rent, but your roommate doesn't pay theirs. the landlord can still hold you responsible as well as the person who didn't pay and anybody else who signed the lease. Okay, so to that I say try using a roommate agreement so that at least you know with your roommates what the deal is. Having one does not change the fact that the landlord can still pursue everyone in a legal action. But I think it's really good to have at the very least. It's a conversation piece, and at best, hopefully, so that everybody understands what the agreement is, and that agreement is in writing. Protect your security deposit, the single biggest issue that we see in my office. So take lots of pictures when you move into a place and before you move out. Your responsibility is to return a place in the same condition as you found it. So in other words, it's supposed to be in just as clean, just as good condition the day that you move in and the day that you move out, which might be a year later or 2 years later. So take lots of pictures, use an inspection checklist, make sure to ask for a pre-move out inspection before, put any repair requests in writing, and contact Student Legal Services if you have any questions about that. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, and so that's my contact information. The last thing I want to say is, in terms of immigration law, the best folks to talk to are our friends at ISPO. I do want to say that in terms of some of the biggest things that I see related to immigration law, again, number one, when it comes to scams, they might threaten you and say, oh, you're going to be kicked out of the country, you're going to be deported, and you think it's true because they have your number in the United States. Again, immigration folks are not going to call you. Number two, drug crimes are taken very seriously in this country and can result in immigration impact in your ability to study here. And particularly driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs, please do not do that. You can lose your visa, your ability to be in the country if you get a DUI or driving under the influence charge. Please contact Student Legal Services if anything comes up, if you have any questions. Again, it's totally free. Even if you're dealing with the police, if the police contact you and you want to know what your rights are, understand that you don't have to talk to the police necessarily before you have a chance to speak to an attorney. So with all due respect to my colleagues over at UCPD, if you want to have questions about your rights when it comes to interactions with police, with law enforcement, please contact me and contact Student Legal Services. I think I might have gone over a little bit, so I apologize, but thanks for listening, and I'm going to now stop that and turn it over to my colleagues at CARE at SARC. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Jessica. I'm with CARE at the Sexual Assault Resource Center. And what I'll do right now is I'll give you a comprehensive overview of all of the services that we offer at CARE at SARC and how you can all stay safe online, especially as we're navigating this hybrid world. And before we jump in, I do want to just clarify that CARE at SARC goes under different names. You can hear us referred to as CARE, as SARC, as CARE at the Sexual Assault Resource Center. We're all the same office. We're essentially different acronyms put together. So just wanted to clarify that in case you hear about our office as CARE or SARC, we're the same entity. So to break it down, CARE at SARC really offers completely free and confidential services to people who have been impacted by sexual assault, relationship violence, and stalking. What this means is that if someone is harmed or experiences some form of harm, we're able to meet with them and give them a comprehensive overview of all the options and rights they have, both through a university process or through a criminal legal process, as well as supporting them in seeking additional support services, resources, and any help in their healing journey. We have two different ways in which we break up our services. We have our support services, which are our direct services, also known as our advocacy services. We do have 24/7 support available. This means that folks are able to answer phone calls after regular business hours, on the weekends, and during holidays. And this is helpful in case people have a quick question they want to connect to us with, or if there's a crisis moment they want to talk to someone directly, then our on-call advocate can follow up soon after. In terms of reviewing our options and rights, this really means that we're able to walk through and inform people of what options they have both on campus and off campus. This also means understanding what rights they have as victims of crimes, also, and breaking down what kind of procedures can happen through a Title IX process or through a criminal legal process, as well as any medical forensic exams or any court proceedings. So we're also able to support people in those processes, supporting them in their cases and accompanying them to any meetings, any appointments, etc. For advocacy and case management, this really takes a look at how can we help enhance the safety that someone's going to experience. So navigating, what needs to shift for folks to be a little bit safer, whether that's moving, changing their class schedule, changing their work schedule. So we're also able to work with all of the college deans to support with any academic flexibility in terms of shifting a test or project back, changing classes, dropping a class without it affecting their grades. Like I said, if they have to break a lease or move out of a different residential hall, we can support them with that. Similarly, if the experience they had impacted their job, then we're able to support them in asking for a leave of absence, or even working with HR to see what options folks have. And then additionally, if there's any services that we may not necessarily work directly, we're able to navigate all the different support services, both on campus and off campus. And our advocate team does offer healing opportunities throughout the academic year, which can look like healing through yoga, healing through art, healing through music, and just offering additional support services. I will name that our office doesn't offer any therapy or counseling sessions. However, we work really closely with CAPS and with off-campus service providers in case people want to be matched up with a talk therapist. And I'll clarify as well what I mean when I say that our services are completely confidential, both our support services as well as our education and training. This means that our staff are not responsible employees under Title IX, and they're also not clear as CSAs. And why that's helpful to know is that very few entities at UC San Diego are considered confidential. And this also means that we will only release information if we receive someone's written consent. And so talking to us doesn't automatically prompt a reporting process. However, we're able to support people if that is something they're wanting to do. The other side of our team does focus on doing education and training on campus. We work with students, staff, and faculty to really equip people with the skills and strategies and information to help create a safer campus community by navigating topics of healthy relationships, bystander intervention strategies, affirmative consent, and supporting survivors. We do this through mandatory education for all incoming first year and transfer students. Last year, we offered it both in person and online. So there's different options in which we deliver our training content. And we work really closely with colleges to offer additional sessions as well throughout the year. We're able to do any consultation and liaison support. And this is both for any community impact that may happen in a student organization you're a part of, maybe a Greek chapter you're affiliated with, or even just a friend group. So in case there's any impact that happens, we're able to go in and support and identify what can we do to strengthen support systems for the people who've been impacted, what type of training and workshops can we offer to educate people to be better prepared, and what kind of cultural shifts can we enhance with any office group to ensure that this doesn't happen again. We do have a full programming list throughout the academic year. We do a targeting program effort during October for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, in January for National Stalking Awareness Month, and in April for Sexual Assault Awareness Month, which just happened. And we're able to work with folks based on requests that they may have. So we have really strong relationships with all of our different campus resources here at UC San Diego, as well with our student organizations and our Greek life chapters. And so anytime that you may be curious and learning more, you can always set up a meeting and request a program, or you can check out our website as well. Lastly, we train all of our student staff, all the interns, as well as other professional staff and faculty to help enhance their skills in supporting survivors who may disclose to them. So we walk them through all the things that they can do and say to respond to someone if they ever disclose to them that they've experienced harm. And this is just in an effort to ensure that folks are prepared to respond to harm. We know that sexual violence is unfortunately very common and affects people of all genders, all ethnicities, all backgrounds. And so we want to ensure that people are equipped with navigating those conversations in a way that is trauma-informed and not going to cause further harm or victimize or victim blame. I'll speak a little bit of how you all can be mindful of staying safe online. I know we've all been sharing what very wonderful tools of what you all can do to protect yourselves from being victims of crime or even targeted for any harassment or bullying. And so these are just additional tips as you're navigating using the internet, using online modules. We know that most of our life is now happening in a virtual space. And so we want to make sure that you all really have the information that you need to enhance that safety. And if at any point you all have any questions, you can always follow up with us. We'll share contact information at the end. And so similarly to what previous panelists have shared, we want to make sure that you are exercising caution when sharing personal information on the internet. This means being really mindful of what information you're sharing with people. Sometimes even on dating apps, you think you're getting to know someone and then you're building a connection, and folks may just be wanting to get information from you to then, scam you or, open up accounts under your name. We also want to make sure that you're really cautious about any identifying information. We know I mentioned dating sites, but also with emails, also with, text messages. We see a lot of phishing and scamming like that. And maybe like sites that look very similar to what they should be called, but they're really not. They might be misspelled or the link might look a little bit weird. So just make sure that before verifying any identifying information, that you ensure that it's a valid source. If you are receiving any, phishing emails or any spam messages, you can always forward them to abuse@ucsc.edu, and they sort through those emails and just make sure they set up additional protections. And you can always block senders using your inbox filters and settings. I know John Carlos mentioned this, but setting up unique passwords for your platforms is really important. I know it's really easy to want to use one password for all of your accounts, but then that's the way that folks can then gain access to all your personal information, as well as your credit card information, and just completely strip you of your autonomy. And then lastly, don't share passwords. I know it's becoming a more common trend for people in relationships to share passwords or share accounts. And we just want to be really mindful of how you're interacting with that, because then if a relationship ends, then folks may be able to still continue using those accounts, or again, do open up accounts and harm your credit history or harm you directly. So we want to be really careful of how you're sharing passwords with people, and we recommend not doing it. If you do at some point, just being able to change it afterwards is what we recommend folks do. We also recommend people to cover their webcams. We have all these different little webcam covers you can use. You can put over a Post-it. And this is just because there's a lot of popularity now in really hacking into people's computers or even cell phones to then stream their private life or share content, including, maybe when people are changing, they don't realize their camera's on. So we just want to make sure that people are enhancing all safety processes they can. For your Zoom accounts, we like to really normalize using a virtual background or an image, and this is just to protect your location privacy. Sometimes folks may take classes or meetings like outdoors, and people can start to figure out where they might live, and then you can be targeted for future crimes. So just making sure that there isn't any identifying information, any information about where you might live. And this also goes for sharing pictures online. A lot of times people share selfies, and a lot of the apps that we're using nowadays are really connected to our location settings. So we like to recommend for folks to post after they've been to a location so that it doesn't share their live location, or even being mindful of where you're posting pictures. If you have a favorite coffee shop and you take a selfie in front of it, people will try to figure out, how closely you live to it, and you can be a victim of stalking as well in that way. Lastly, we want to recommend that folks don't record unless all people involved have consented to being recorded. So like you see, this panel is being recorded and we all agreed to be recorded. So really make sure that we're practicing consent in all of our interactions, including when we maybe want to take a quick snapshot or screenshot. And I know this happens a lot with people who are FaceTiming and they just take a quick screen grab. So just make sure you're double checking and making sure that folks are comfortable with that before publishing that picture or sharing it with other folks. Right now, we are offering our services in a hybrid modality. What this means is that we are on campus part-time and we are virtual part-time. We're able to accommodate any needs that folks have. So if folks want to set up an appointment in person, on the phone, or even through Zoom, we're able to accommodate whatever modality you feel comfortable with. I know a lot of people like the phone and Zoom option because it's a lot more flexible and it works with people's schedules. However, I know folks really like that in-person connection, so we're able to do that. You're able to reach us by calling 858-534-5793. This phone number is our 24/7 access line. So even if it's after business hours, you can give us a call and there's someone trained to respond at all hours. You can always email us at careadvocate@ucsd.edu to request an intake appointment or even to learn more about our services or how we can support you or a friend that has been impacted by harm. We also offer accompaniments, just to reiterate, to any police interviews, Title IX hearings, any court proceedings, or any exams that you may have, or any supportive meetings that you may have. The other piece I want to make sure I name is that we're able to support people regardless of when the incident happened. So even if an incident happened prior to you all coming to UC San Diego, we're still able to support people. We understand that trauma impacts people in different ways, and oftentimes with really big life transitions and changes and stressors, that trauma can come up. So we want to make sure we reiterate that we can help people regardless of when the incident happened. And even if you are supporting someone who's been impacted, we're able to support you as well. And like I mentioned, we do have different programs and workshops available virtually or in person for you all to really learn more about healthy relationships, healthy friendships, how you can normalize consent in your everyday lives, learning about bystander intervention strategies to support people on campus when they're in potentially harmful or risky situations, and just learning how to support survivors overall. You can request a program by going to our website, or you can also email us at careinfo@ucsd.edu. And that's the end of my portion. I wanted to make sure I left up our contact information one more time in case you want to grab a screenshot. But anywho, if you go to our website, you have all of our information, a breakdown of everything I shared with you all. We also recommend people reaching out to us on Instagram at UCSD Care. We keep up and share all of our program offerings there. And then we are located at Student Services 500. Once you get to campus, I know it might be really confusing, and it's helpful to know we're in the building right next to the Price Center, and that's right at the heart of campus. Thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Pachia Vu, and I'm an assistant director with Student Financial Solutions. Next slide, please. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some housing and tuition scams. A lot of the information that I'm going to talk about here, my colleagues have already mentioned, but again, this is information that we can't stress enough. Just like my colleagues mentioned, protect your login credentials. That is so important. Nobody from our campus is going to call you and ask you for your login information. We just had a recent incident just a couple of weeks ago where a student called our office because they received a phone call from a company that was providing discounts on tuition as long as you use their service to pay, your student bill. And all they were asking for is for you to provide the PID, and which is your ID number here on campus, and your login information so that they can connect their system with our system. So scams like that are happening all the time. Do not ever share your information with anyone. And then along those same lines, make sure you're only using our official payment methods, only the payment methods that are approved by campus. We have those listed on our website, sfs.ucsd.edu. Don't believe any other emails or calls that you get regarding, oh, use this service, you get a discount. Use this, it's secure. Only use the services that we provide on our website. And then avoid solicitations. Do not respond to any third-party solicitations for payment or tuition fees. Oftentimes, if it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. And then I did want to share another example regarding credentials. Sometimes scams are not always in huge amounts. Sometimes they are in small amounts over time, and you don't think it's a scam, or you don't know it's a scam until you've looked at your account as a whole. A few years ago, we had a student who let someone use their login to order some food on campus. What they didn't expect was that person was going to save the login information and continue to use their dining plan to buy food on campus. And they didn't know until they realized towards the end of the year that their dining plan balance was super low. So it took us quite a while to go through the account and look at all the transactions. And this person had been using their account in $5 increments, $6 increments every single day for over the span of a year. So, so like some of my colleagues mentioned earlier, pay close attention to your accounts. Do not share your login credentials. And then if you think you are a victim of a scam of some sort, change your password. Immediately change your password. Another one that I wanted to point out was related to housing. We often hear about students who are solicited by a third-party company. I know John Carlos had talked about this. These companies will say, oh, pay us and we'll pay the deposit for you, or pay us and we'll pay your rent for you. Do not believe them. Beware of these scams. Only use the official approved payment methods. If you're living on campus, you're paying through your student account, don't believe any other third-party company that says they will pay for you. So just a couple of other little tips so that you don't become a victim. If you're ever the receiver of a call from a company, any type of a suspicious call, hang up immediately. Do not provide them with any information at all, even if it's, your ID number, nothing like that. Don't give them anything. And then call UCPD and report the incident to them. And the other thing that you can do is you can contact ISPO, or you can call my office, and then let us know what happened, and we can provide you with resources to help you. Next slide, please. So here's our contact information over at Student Financial Solutions. We've got our office hours on here. You can reach us via phone, or you can reach us via the Student Services and Support portal. We also have an Instagram account. If you use Instagram, you can follow us there. We often try to provide tips and tricks for different things like this. And I think that's the end of my slide. So I'll go ahead and I will pass it on back to Karina.
Thank you so much, everybody, for this helpful information, making sure that all of our students stay safe. We are approaching the end of our webinar, so if you haven't had a chance to submit your question through the Q&A feature, I would encourage you to do so now as I quickly go over some of the pieces and different programs that ISPO offers. It's really important to get involved on campus so that you're able to build that sense of community, and it contributes greatly to your sense of belonging on campus as well. And so I highly encourage you to visit iprograms.ucsd.edu for different specialty programs that our office offers. Also, please don't hesitate to just kind of bookmark this page. This is our iEvents calendar. This is where all of the specific programs will be listed. Our campus partners also utilize this website. And so it's a great way to kind of find fun events that are happening throughout the quarters. We do offer peer mentorship programs. So if you're a graduate student, you may be interested in Grad Pals. And then we have GAP for our undergraduate students, as well as international peer coaches. SurfCheck is a great guide to get different helpful information about, traveling, housing options, documents, billing. We talked a lot about, off-campus housing and different options. So please don't hesitate to check out SurfCheck for some of those helpful tips as well. And then this is just some of our contact information. We are at 9:30, but if anybody is still typing their question, we'll wait a minute or so, and then we'll conclude the webinar. But thank you all so much for joining us today, for listening carefully to all of this important information. We hope that you'll be able to utilize the tips shared with you to keep yourself and your friends safe as you encounter any of these scams on campus.
Just one thing, there were a few questions that were asked in the queue, and a lot of it was about safety. So I know some of you may look on social media and television and see that the United States is out of control, but the campus is relatively safe. There are 70, 80,000 people here on a daily basis. With that comes bad people sometimes, but what we want you to do is have fun, enjoy campus, don't worry about safety. If you report a crime, or if you see a crime, report a crime. Just be aware of your surroundings, and we just want you to have a good time and be safe. But someone asked if we search people as they go into buildings, for weapons, and that's it doesn't happen. We're just here to provide a service of safety as far as the police department and all of the different departments on this webinar. So when you get here, have fun, be safe. If you see something, report it, please.
Thank you, Sheldon. And yeah, I highly encourage students, if you're still with us, to screenshot this page. It has a comprehensive list of resources that we've covered today, and also the contact information of everybody who joined us today. It looks like there are no more questions in the Q&A box, so we are going to conclude here. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Please don't hesitate to check out the webinar recording for this presentation in the next few days on iNews Student Webinars. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you.